This special podcast episode is sponsored by Equinor and produced by POLITICO Studio.
We are repairing, for example, the damage done by Russian strikes. We are stabilizing Ukraine's energy grid with new anti-drone equipment.
You've seen over the last couple of months also the big impact it has on water and on electricity. So generally on people living their lives and being able to go about their lives.
4 years after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the implications for Europe's energy security remain ever present as new cyber threats and increasingly physical threats emerge. Meanwhile, the conflict in the Middle East has delivered an oil shock that is reverberating through the global economy. Energy infrastructure is now a crucial consideration for global security, and energy suppliers, governments, and NATO are raising the alarm about the need to protect it. I'm Adam Green, a science and technology journalist. In this podcast, I talk to experts across sectors about these rising security risks, Europe's cross-border energy connections, and the coordinated international response that will be necessary to hold on to energy resilience.
It's worth remembering that Russia has focused on targeting economically vital assets practically since the Soviet era, because it sees the ability to inflict economic harm as part of any conflict with NATO, as a way to disrupt our societies and to undermine popular support and popular trust in governments.
Oana Lungescu is a Brussels-based journalist and former NATO spokesperson. She says hybrid attacks targeting infrastructure are part of Russia's war strategy.
We've seen, of course, targeted military kinetic attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure every day, every night, leaving millions of civilians without heating in the depth of winter. But we've also seen another type of attacks, and they can be called hybrid attacks because they are often under the threshold of military attack. They're very hard to attribute, but basically we've seen a vast campaign of sabotage, of destabilization across Europe, targeting all types of critical infrastructure, including energy infrastructure, but also communications cables, obviously electricity grids, airports, gas pipelines, railway lines. So this type of attacks can be as devastating as military attacks, but they're hard to attribute. There's plausible deniability about who's actually behind them. So the idea is that they don't trigger a military response and they create confusion and potentially also panic and disruption in our societies. So even though this is a hybrid type of war, I think we shouldn't be mistaken, because it's still part of Russia's way of waging war. They still see it as war. We may not, but they do.
Under the sea, over 1 million kilometers of cables transport 95% of the world's internet traffic, and there are over 200,000 kilometers of active oil and gas pipelines across Europe. That critical physical infrastructure is at risk.
The energy sector is likely to remain the most frequently targeted because of its strategic importance to the economy and to society. Cross-border interconnectors such as undersea cables are essential for energy trade and grid stability. However, their importance also increases their exposure to risk. These assets become more attractive targets for both cyber and physical attacks.
Petya Barsilska is head of research and policy at the European Initiative for Energy Security. She says that in almost all cases, strategically significant assets in Europe have a cross-border dimension.
This requires stronger cross-border cooperation frameworks, not only to protect such infrastructure, but also to ensure an adequate response when incidents or attacks happen. This requires enhanced situational awareness and both strategic and operational preparedness for different scenarios with cross-border implications.
The risks don't stop at the cables and pipelines we can see, or even the ones underwater. the energy transition has introduced new targets for physical attacks.
We need to think carefully about how to secure the supply chains that underpin this new energy system. A 3 to 6 month interruption in semiconductor supply could severely disrupt trade flows, financial transactions, and industrial production across Europe. There is the viable risk that supply chain disruptions could slow down Europe's energy transition and thus Europe's energy security. For example, delays in getting critical grid components could stall energy projects. Short-term measures such as stockpiling or rerouting supply chains are important, of course, but they might be insufficient without long-term investment in domestic production, recycling, but also skilled labor.
For Europe's major energy suppliers, responsibility now extends beyond production, requiring companies to play a role protecting and securing the infrastructure that underpins the region's economy. Camilla Salter is Executive Vice President for Safety, Security and Sustainability at Equinor, a Norwegian energy company and a critical supplier of Europe's natural gas.
For me, the role as Europe's largest gas provider, we feel this is a huge responsibility. Norway now supplies more than 30% of all the gas to Europe and UK, and Equinor alone delivers over 20% to Europe. That is a huge share, and my colleagues and I, we feel that responsibility every single day. And we know how important stable energy is for Europe, so we take this very seriously. So when the energy shock came after the invasion in Ukraine, it really showed how Europe depends on reliable partners and recognize that energy security and national security are interlinked now. We also know that there are recent geopolitical events that have increased the demand on us as leaders and as colleagues, and building that awareness and understanding what's happening around us, like with the war, with the cyber threats, energy weaponization, and translate that into informed, responsible decision. So we have been a partner for more than 50 years, and we aim to continue to be a stable and predictable supplier of the energy that Europe needs.
Norway is assessing the current risks to energy infrastructure. The Norwegian Intelligence Service recently published its annual threat analysis, noting that the country's oil and gas may be a target of conflict with foreign powers. Salter explains how Equinor is guarding against this ever-present threat.
We are naturally exposed because we have assets both onshore and offshore, but that we have known for years, and we have experience built over time to build and protect this infrastructure. But as we have seen the last years, we have seen a series of consequences of sabotage. We have the Nord Stream explosion, and we also have fiber cables being cut. And these are all strong reminders for all of us that how vulnerable our critical energy and communication infrastructure can be. So we have also sharpened our focus even more after these incidents. In addition, of course, we cannot do this alone. We work very closely with the Norwegian authorities. We have a good collaboration, and this is all about learning how to act quickly and also a learning from incident that happens outside our company.
Emily Asberg is CEO of Oslo-based Havgard, a deep tech startup working on distributed intelligence systems to improve underwater communications and sensing capabilities, which is crucial for protecting undersea cables. The company has also worked closely with national authorities.
The Norwegian military side has been really good in terms of welcoming us into being and defining ourselves also as belonging to the defense industry. Even though all of this is dual use, you can use it for civilian and military purposes, but creating that belonging. And I think that's very important in Europe.
Havgard contributes to harnessing automation and AI to strengthen security. Autonomous robotics and smart sensors are able to identify threats in the most harsh and challenging environments, even deep under the sea.
So the new generation of interconnected intelligent sensors, they can ideally be able to detect incoming objects and identify the threats as fast as possible. And the detection, the data fusion, and the communication should be done by adaptation systems and in real time. And such will be possible with a highly distributed intelligence architecture, with embedded AI algorithms in the sensors, meaning in the edge level, further to cloud and through fog systems. So when each level is equipped with advanced AI algorithms, it's possible to both harvest and handle huge amount of data which humans could never compute in real time.
Given the interconnectedness of the energy system, damage to infrastructure in one country can have effects across the region and requires coordinated international response. Oana Lungescu, formerly of NATO, says that effective management of cross-border threats depends on cooperation.
Looking forward, we can expect that the rise in geopolitical tensions, but also the rapid rise in artificial intelligence and the energy transition will lead, on the one hand, to an even bigger network of critical undersea infrastructure, but also will lead to increased risks because we have seen how fast, for instance, drone technology is evolving, while at the same time we've also seen increased cooperation, especially in recent years, between nations, NATO, the European Union, the commercial sector, civilian and military. So there is a lot that's been done to help prevent such incidents, but a lot more needs to be done collectively. In terms of what NATO has been doing, on the one hand, it set up this Baltic Sentry mission over a year ago to increase patrols and awareness in the Baltic Sea when it comes to the protection of critical undersea infrastructure. And there's also a center for the security of critical undersea infrastructure, which exchanges information in real time, including with commercial operators. And that center is based at NATO's Maritime Command in Northwood in the United Kingdom. And there's also a coordination cell at NATO HQ in Brussels. And the idea is to set up a network which meets and is in constant coordination with military actors, with civilian actors, but also with industry to step up coordination and to share information.
Havgard, the deep tech startup, has integrated collaboration across every stage of development.
The collaboration must be close, but it must be organized, all the way from the project engineering and design stage and all through the industrial process and deployment of the systems. We need to make sure that our understanding of the challenges is aligned, what our priorities should be, what options we have, and if we can afford the optimal or the good enough solution. And we believe that this alignment happens when actors are gathered in the same room with transparent and continuous sharing to the extent possible. And we do believe that cooperation is as important now as ever before, both within and between our European countries. And Europe has all the talent that we need to lead the technology race. But the sense of urgency needs to be aligned with our wishes to lead. Because in the world of technology, time is working against you, and we as a team need to be visionary.
Acting together fast requires shared, reliable and up-to-date information. There is now a clear awareness across Europe that intelligence sharing is critical.
Information sharing and coordination across Europe is crucial, and this needs to happen not only between companies, but also with and between authorities from different countries in Europe. For example, many companies that operate across borders maintain regular contact with national or local authorities to understand threats, share information, and sometimes conduct joint exercises. We also need platforms that enable real-time intelligence sharing, including cross-border information sharing.
The wars in Ukraine and Iran have exposed vulnerabilities in energy supply and reshaped global priorities. Today, achieving a diverse energy mix isn't just about renewables targets, it's about national security. Strengthening Europe's energy ecosystem has the potential to bring European countries, militaries, civilians, and technology partners closer together, forging new connections and collaborations to protect us from ever-shifting risks.